Earth was caught in a devastating battle between alien forces with weapons beyond human comprehension. The planet's surface was reduced to ash and red light. Anticipating this conflict, the coalition government initiated the Life Colonization Project, codenamed Project Exodus, launching interstellar arks from major cities worldwide. Most arks failed to escape Earth's atmosphere. Among the few successful vessels was the White Whale. For 2 years, these survivors wandered through space, considering themselves pioneers destined to settle a new world. Their journey was interrupted when the pursuing aliens attacked, and despite the efforts of a lone hero, the White Whale sustained heavy damage. With flight systems compromised, the White Whale was pulled into a nearby planet's gravitational field, shattering as it descended to the surface. 2 months have passed since the crash. Most lifepods didn't survive the impact, making the intact pods extremely rare. A woman named Elma discovered one intact pod containing a survivor suffering from stasis hangover and memory loss. After providing a weapon, Elma escorted the survivor towards safety, explaining fragments of their history during the journey. She revealed that Earth was destroyed in an alien conflict, and they're now on an uncharted planet called Mira. The planet Mira features diverse indigenous wildlife, some hostile and some merely wary of the human newcomers. Elma explained that humans must learn to coexist with these creatures. From their elevated vantage point, they could see their destination, a massive habitat structure salvaged from the White Whale. The habitat unit was just a portion of the enormous White Whale ship. Approaching their settlement, Elma and the survivor encountered hostile wildlife near the West Gate, which they had to eliminate in self-defense. Elma emphasized the importance of distinguishing between necessary self-defense and needless provocation. Inside the settlement, Elma welcomed the survivor to New Los Angeles, NLA, their new home modeled after the Earth City. Though NLA represented hope, the refugees were essentially adrift in the unknown, having lost their native planet and facing an uncertain future. The Director General, Maurice Chausson, announced the supposed recovery of 10 more crew members, though Elma's companions later revealed this was propaganda. The survivor met Irina Akolov and Gwyn Evans from the Interceptors Division, former Coalition Forces members from the Special Operations Heavy Armor Training Unit, nicknamed the Skeleton Crew. Lin Li Ku, a 13-year-old mechanical prodigy working for Blade, offered to give them a transport tour of the city. Despite her youth, Lin was described as one of their top talents. She provided a comprehensive overview of New LA's 4 distinct districts while flying them to their destination. New LA consists of 4 districts: the Industrial District with food production and skill development, the Commercial District with shops and restaurants, the Residential District with housing and recreational spaces, and the Administrative District, which houses Blade HQ, government facilities, and the barracks where they live. The Blade barracks are located just behind the giant Blade Tower. The road wraps around the left side and leads directly to it. While passing through Armory Alley, the group decides not to get sidetracked, planning to explore it later. Upon arrival at the barracks, newcomers are welcomed as guests until registration is complete, with freedom to come and go. Secretary Nagy meets the group and acknowledges the latest rescue. After a brief exchange with Lin Ku about her perpetual cheerfulness, Nagy inquires about the day's flight. Elma is commended for finding another survivor, and Nagy suggests moving inside to discuss the official registration process, offering tea and recognizing the wariness from stasis. Kentaro Nagy formally introduces himself as the former captain of the White Whale, now serving as Secretary of Defense for New LA. His responsibilities include overseeing all military and police matters. Nagy mentions potential job opportunities with Blade, but Elma suggests giving the newcomer time to make an informed decision, noting the survivor's memory loss about Earth and the White Whale. The story begins with Earth's destruction 2 years prior, caught in a battle between advanced alien civilizations with incomprehensible technology. Project Exodus was initiated to preserve Earth life forms. The white whale carried survivors through space for over 2 years, searching for a habitable planet until alien forces attacked again near planet Mira. When the white whale sustained critical damage entering Mira's atmosphere, all remaining power was used to soft land the habitat section. Survivors transformed this into New LA, establishing Blade and a provisional government. Blade stands for Builders of a Legacy, after the destruction of Earth, and was formed to handle the complex needs of survival on Mira. Blade has one primary mission that supersedes all others: finding and recovering the Lifehold. This structure contained the majority of human survivors in stasis, while only essential personnel remained active during the journey. When the ship broke apart during the crash, the Lifehold components scattered across Mira. Locating these missing units remains the organization's highest priority. All New LA citizens must register their personal information and declare assets. After explaining registration requirements, Secretary Nagi suggests the newcomer take time to process the information and sends Lin Ku to provide a tour of the administrative district. This special access to the AD suggests Nagi's interest in recruiting the newcomer to Blade. The administrative district contains everything Blade members need without extras. During the tour, an impressive skell passes by. Lin explains that skells are advanced exoskeletons with powerful weapons, transformative capabilities, and were originally developed as defensive measures against alien threats. Despite being insufficient to save Earth, skell technology enabled New LA's rapid development. Operating skells requires both Blade membership and special licensing. The certification process is rigorous, with candidates selected based on exceptional service, not by volunteering. The tour continues to Mission Control, where Blade members select assignments from a public board that includes requests from businesses and citizens alike. For challenging missions, Blades use the Scout Console to recruit others with specialized skills. Lin enthusiastically promotes joining Blade, though Elma cautions against pressuring their guest. The tour continues at Armory Alley, where Blades can requisition equipment from vendors. Having the latest gear is emphasized as crucial for survival rather than for impressing others. New LA allows residents to purchase skell equipment and even entire skells for personal use. Blade Tower serves as the heart of the administrative operations, housing Blade HQ, where leadership spends most of their time. Secretary Nagy, Commander Vandam, and Director General Maurice Husson are based there. Blades often report to leadership after completing assignments. Upon returning to the barracks, Secretary Nagy delivers a request from Commander Vandam to fast-track the newcomer for Blade duty with a training assignment. Despite concerns about memory issues, Vandam doesn't see this as a problem given the current need for recruits. The newcomer accepts the invitation to join Blade and is assigned to Elma's team for immediate training. The first training assignment involves installing a data probe for Frontier Nav, a specialized computer system used to deploy a sensor grid across Mira. This network of probes monitors conditions and collects information about the planet. The terrain map divides areas into hexagonal blocks called segments, forming an efficient grid pattern given the limited probe range. The team heads toward the East Gate, which has recently reopened after being locked down due to high-level indigent activity. They discuss a previous encounter with Grex, though Elma notes these were routine enemies, not significant enough to warrant gate closures. The team proceeds to the East Gate to begin their probe installation mission. The team discovers a simicular that has killed multiple simious creatures, an unusual occurrence since simius typically rank higher in the food chain. This indicates the simicular is actually a tyrant, an indigenous life form that exceeds normal threat rankings. Tyrants are extremely dangerous, having caused serious injuries even to Blade's best teams. After dealing with the threat, they proceed with installing the data probe. The installation site is marked by a beam of light. The probe device consists of two parts. The top half contains the probe itself, while the bottom half houses a laser that dissolves soil so the probe can reach proper depth. Burying probes protects them from damage by local wildlife. Upon returning to base, Commander Vandam personally visits to meet the new recruit. He commends the team for taking on a tyrant during a training mission, calling it reckless yet magnificent. Some tension and playful banter between Vandam and Nagi hint at a previous bet regarding the new recruit. Vandam introduces himself as Blade's top officer and former chief engineer on the White Whale. A conversation begins where someone discusses their role as a problem solver. The participants are getting down to business, with one person learning expressions well. The discussion moves to a requirement for someone to choose a division and receive an assignment before they can proceed with tasks. Everyone in New LA works for Blade across 8 different divisions, each responsible for different aspects of exploration, maintenance, and city order. Finding the division that best suits one's personality and talents is important, though changing divisions later is possible if needed. The Pathfinder's main responsibility is planting data probes to expand knowledge about Mira. Though not glamorous, this work is crucial as they've only been on the planet for 2 months. The expanding Frontier Nav network helps keep Blades and the city safe while being key to locating missing parts of the Lifehold. Interceptors, including Arena and Gwen, focus on protecting New LA from local wildlife. As the busiest division, they escort researchers and VIPs while helping anyone caught in dangerous situations. Harriers like Doug Barrett serve as New LA's offense, conducting preemptive strikes against clear threats. Reclaimers search for White Whale pieces and recover items left behind after battles, including scale debris, weapons, and personal effects. While sometimes morbid, this work is essential as everything from Earth must be treated as irreplaceable. Reclaimers also lead the search for the Lifehold. Curators scout unexplored territories, collecting samples of all kinds and often being the first to encounter unknown indigenous species. Prospectors search for minerals and resources needed for daily life, as supplies from the White Whale won't last forever. They're essential for ensuring future survival. Outfitters work with private arms manufacturers to develop weapons and gear, seeking inspiration for new designs and testing prototypes. Mediators handle civilian issues from neighbor disputes to lost pets. They require strong people skills and versatility, playing a crucial role in maintaining peace. After explaining all 8 divisions, the conversation moves to choosing one, emphasizing that all Blades have operational freedom regardless of division. The choice is made, and the person is officially welcomed as a Blade member with their first mission, investigating Nelson's missing team. The team investigates damaged equipment that shows unusual marks, not typical animal attacks. They detect an Earth-based IFF signal coming from an unnatural structure containing multiple life forms moving in controlled, orderly patterns, suggesting they're not wild animals but possibly visitors. An attempt at diplomacy fails when the mysterious beings declare all Earth aliens must die. After combat, the team tries again to negotiate with a more fluent individual. Despite explaining they crash-landed after their ship was damaged, they're met with hostility and forced to fight for survival. After the encounter, the team is perplexed about why these beings want to kill all humans. They prepare to report this dire news to headquarters when they discover Tatsu, a sentient being initially mistaken for a vegetable. Tatsu reveals he's a Nopon, a native species to Mira, and that the armored beings called Prone are recent arrivals to the planet. The Nopon race has been hunted to the edge of extinction by the Prone and other hostile alien races. Tatsu, a Nopon, explains that these predatory aliens gang up on his people and do terrible things to them, vowing that someday they will turn the tables. When meeting new human allies, Tatsu initially mistakes their interest as culinary before realizing they want to help him. The humans decide to take Tatsu with them as he seems harmless and could provide valuable information about Mira and the prone. They plan to bring him back to New LA after he passes a quarantine scan. Tatsu excitedly performs a dance of joy, considering his new companions the friendliest friends ever. As thanks for saving his life, Tatsu offers to lend the humans a special item called a follow ball. When questioned about giving rather than lending the gift, Tatsu insists that giving it away would be insulting to both parties, revealing his merchant nature. The follow ball helps people who get lost find their way to safety. Commander Vanden learns about Nelson's team loss and the hostile alien presence on Mira. Concerned these aliens may be related to Earth's destruction, he plans to report to Secretary Nagi about bolstering defenses. He questions Tatsu's presence, whom Lin describes as a potato, despite Tatsu's protests about being mistaken for food. Tatsu offers a treaty of friendship on behalf of Mira. The team suggests keeping him as a source of intel. Though initially planning to leave Tatsu in New LA for safety, they reconsider when he points out his ability to communicate with other Nopon who might share valuable information but wouldn't trust humans directly. The commander assigns Tatsu to accompany the team in the field, specifically making him Lin's responsibility despite her objections. Tatsu then reveals that Nopon are pacifists, meaning the team will need to defend him during battles, contradicting his earlier promise to protect them. Elma reviews Blade's priorities with Rook, securing missing pieces of the Lifehold to restore humanity, expanding Frontier Nav by installing data probes to scan for Lifehold fragments, and eliminating hostile indigenous creatures that threaten New LA. Squad missions are explained as special assignments transmitted directly from Blade HQ, requiring multiple operatives. These missions handle significant threats, and while not mandatory, they're important for the colony's safety. Squads can have up to 32 members to tackle these challenging tasks. After the briefing, the team returns home for the night. Lin teases Tatsu by pretending she's going to cook him, pointing at a refrigerator as his room and suggesting they use him as a chicken substitute in dinner. The commander arrives just in time for the meal. Commander Vanden announces they found what appears to be a piece of the Lifehold in Noctolum, which Tatsu refers to as Nikla Woods. This discovery through Frontier Nav represents important progress in their mission to recover all parts of the Lifehold. The team discusses a region they've been calling Noctolum. There's disagreement about the name, with someone suggesting Nightglow Woods instead. According to the Pathfinder's report, numerous indigens inhabit the area, but supposedly no intelligent life forms. This statement offends Tatsu, a Nopon, who argues that Nopon frequently visit the area and have a proud history. The team is instructed to check in with Lowe's team, who are installing probes in the region. They don't have an exact fix on a Lifehold signal, only a general direction. The team meets Lowe, who inquires about Danny and Boris. They learn these team members didn't survive an encounter with a powerful indigent. Lowe mistakes Tatsu for an onion or ration, causing Tatsu to protest that he's a Nopon with a distinguished history on Mira. Lowe is introduced to Lin Li Ku, a surprisingly young team member at 13 years old. Lowe heads the Pathfinder team, Bella Sarda, and explains that Nelson's entire team was wiped out by hostile xenoforms called Prone. The team inquires about a Lifehold signal detected in the direction of Noctolum. Lowe hasn't heard anything about it, nor has another team they encountered. Despite having assignment duties to complete, Lowe requests to join the search party, arguing that finding a piece of the Lifehold is more important than paperwork, and offers help with both the search and handling indigens. The team approaches where the Lifehold piece should be located. Tatsu expresses concern about climbing the rocky mountain ahead with his tiny feet and stubby limbs. The team agrees that scaling the cliffs is impossible and decides to take a detour. They encounter someone called El Seru, or El, who reveals he's an inhabitant of the planet since ancient times. El mentions knowing about the Nopon, commenting they frequently purchase his wares. El describes Mira as previously peaceful before the arrival of the prone, whom he loathes for disrupting this tranquility. El speaks their language fluently, having learned from a data terminal found in some nearby wreckage. The team realizes this wreckage might be their Lifehold piece and asks to examine the terminal. Lin confirms it contains library data from the Lifehold's archives, not the core they were hoping for. El reveals that prone forces have surrounded the wreckage site. Despite initially not mentioning this crucial detail, El offers to show them the way. The team decides to salvage what they can, knowing the prone won't let them leave peacefully. During the encounter, the prone declare humanity a cosmic blight they intend to eradicate. A battle ensues, with the prone eventually retreating, but warning this conflict isn't over. The team discusses the prone's hostility toward humans. Elma recognizes their technology, particularly the mech they encountered, confirming these aliens were part of the forces that destroyed Earth. The team refers to them as the Ganglion. El asks to accompany them to New LA, explaining that with the archives destroyed, his thirst for knowledge remains unquenched. The team agrees, seeing value in living harmoniously with other species. Back at New LA, the team introduces El to their leadership. Despite initial reservations about allowing an unknown alien into their city, Elma vouches for El's trustworthiness. Permission is granted for El to stay. The team reports that the discovered Lifehold unit wasn't the core, but rather Unit 07, containing 1/3 of the Library of Congress archives, a significant cultural and historical loss, though they hope to restore it using parity data. The leaders examine visual evidence comparing the aliens they encountered to those involved in Earth's destruction. The matching images confirm these Ganglion were indeed part of the attack on Earth. They discuss whether Mira might be the Ganglion's native planet, but Tatsu and El have already confirmed the Ganglion aren't native to Mira. The group discusses recent arrivals who appear to be systematically targeting the Lifehold. They determine these entities followed them and debate whether the core has already been destroyed. One person notes that if the core were ruined, they wouldn't exist to have this conversation. The commander reveals there have been multiple Pathfinder reports of xenoform sightings, possibly Ganglion. They decide to strengthen defenses and continue hunting for signs of the Lifehold before time runs out. Lindley is cooking for Tatsu and others. Lindley jokes about needing Tatsu's liver for a foie gras recipe, frightening Tatsu, who realizes it's a prank. Gwyn joins them for the meal, and they tease each other about their appetites. The conversation shifts when Gwyn explains they have an extermination order for violent indigents on the northern coast, but Commander Vandam sent another urgent job their way, involving mysterious ship images from Oblivia. The team arrives at Oblivia, which Tatsu insists on calling Sandy Bum Canyon. They initially find nothing, then spot new xenoforms who aren't Ganglion. Tatsu identifies them as Manon, who arrived on Mira about a year before humans. The group discusses the strange phenomenon that they can understand alien languages despite anatomical differences. They decide to make contact with the Manon to assist them against the Ganglion forces. The team meets the Manon, who initially mistake Tatsu for food. After clarifying they're from Earth and share enemies with the Ganglion, they learn the Manon's ship is trapped by Ganglion turrets. The team agrees to help destroy the weapons so the ship can escape. After completing the mission and returning to the meeting point, they discover the Manon have disappeared, presumably back to their ship. One team member is severely injured, losing biocirculatory plasma. Elma contacts the Mimioso Maintenance Center to prepare a replacement Type 085 left arm and transfusion. The injured person is taken offline for resuscitation. Upon recovery, the team explains that everyone who escaped on the white whale inhabits artificial bodies called mimosomes that mimic human physiology, while their actual bodies remain in stasis in the Lifehold. The team reveals sensitive information. The readout on Blade Tower is actually a countdown to the Lifehold shutting down. Since losing the white whale, the Lifehold has been operating on backup power. If they don't locate the Lifehold and restore power before the countdown reaches 0, not only will they die, but it would mean the extinction of humanity. The team prepares to report their findings to headquarters. A meeting occurs where it's announced that someone has recovered from an injury. The NLA government has reached an accord with the Minan people through a friendship treaty, guaranteeing their safety and providing them settlement within the city. Director John expresses support for interspecies cooperation, recalling a lesson from his past about recognizing common ground despite differences. A discussion reveals that a group has been searching unsuccessfully for something called the Great One within the surrounding space. The area is described as only 800 exunits in diameter, which can be thoroughly searched in 3 days at light speed. There's frustration about being trapped in this location after being swallowed by strange light near Earth, especially alongside humans, which one speaker describes as a sick joke. A comedic scene unfolds where Linley is preparing beef gravy. Tatsu is invited to take a bath before dinner, only to discover it's actually part of the cooking process. After the meal, a visitor arrives with a job proposition, wanting to consult with Elma's team about a discovered alien mech. The job involves an abandoned alien mech located deep in Noctolum that doesn't match any known records. The Ganglion forces have attempted to retrieve it multiple times, but failed due to creatures called the Tainted that inhabit the area. These creatures devour all living things except themselves, but might not perceive the team as threats since they have artificial limbs. The team debates the mission's priority against their main objective of finding the Lifehold. Commander Vandam specifically requested Elma's team for this mission. They agree to investigate since the mech might be a powerful weapon that could tip the scales against the Ganglion, who destroyed Earth. They decide to leave El and Tatsu behind, since they would be targeted by the Tainted. The conversation reveals Lin's background as someone who earned her position on the White Whale crew through talent and determination, despite losing her parents in an accident during the project's development. The team then proceeds toward their destination through caves, encountering strange creatures along the way. Upon reaching the mech, they find it completely inactive with no signs of radiation or movement. The team notes its unusual construction and materials, including dark matter at its core. The mech emits an oppressive feeling as if its pilot's ghost still lingers. They prepare to call in salvage choppers to retrieve it. Complications arise when Tatsu unexpectedly arrives with lunch, potentially attracting the Tainted. With no immediate transportation back, the group faces danger as creatures approach, drawn to Tatsu. A confrontation ensues before they finally manage to return to New LA. Back at the hangar, Lin is put in charge of researching the alien mech as recognition for the team's efforts. Initial examination reveals puzzling features. The external parts resemble a Skell mech, but the purple frame consists of unknown materials with no detectable power source. The team debates whether it's a weapon or possibly an idol to some alien deity. A conversation takes place between a Ganglion Grandmaster Luxar and the former Prince Jag of the Rothians. Luxar reminds Jag that he serves the Ganglion now, threatening the Rothian people if Jag fails. Despite his contempt for Luxar, whom he calls a filthy cur, Jag appears to be cooperating in hopes of finding someone he refers to as Great One. Lin plays a joke on Tatsu, pretending she wants to cook him as tandoori chicken by having him spread yogurt on himself. Tatsu panics, insisting Tatsu is not chicken. This comedic interaction is interrupted when they receive news about an important mission. The team learns that Arena's team has found a piece of a Lifehold unit in Oblivia in excellent condition. While not the core, it's valuable. The Ganglion have a base nearby and are interfering with the retrieval. The team prepares to deploy immediately to assist, as time is critical and they cannot afford to lose personnel. During the mission, Arena's team faces heavy opposition. The colonel takes charge, ordering the team to keep hostiles busy while looking for an opening to secure the Lifehold unit. They engage in combat with numerous enemies who surprisingly don't put up much of a fight, leading to suspicion about a possible diversion or trap. After defeating the enemies, the team regroups. Arena and Marcus are checking on the Lifehold unit. Suddenly, a woman from Noctolum reveals herself. She had set a trap, destroying the Lifehold unit. She expresses satisfaction in eliminating what she calls the stain of humanity and reveals the Ganglion knows about the human situation with the Lifehold and MIMS. The team engages with the Ganglion woman, who taunts them about human extinction being inevitable. The colonel confronts her, calling her a Sumerian witch and referencing pain she's caused throughout the universe. A battle ensues, with the team questioning why these aliens are so determined to destroy humanity. After the battle, Arena shows emotional distress. It's revealed she had a younger brother who didn't make it onto the White Whale when Earth was lost. Despite failing to secure the Lifehold unit, Commander Vandam emphasizes that the team members themselves are irreplaceable and invites them to dinner as Linley offers to cook. Secretary Nagy announces that NLA is at war with the approaching Ganglion forces. Despite Director General Shosen's attempts at negotiation, the enemy shows no interest in dialogue. The Manon have agreed to evacuate non-combatants. Nagy promises that any damaged or destroyed will be restored after the battle and emphasizes the importance of defending their home, regardless of the cost. The team is assigned to defend the Administrative District Gate, a crucial position since losing Blade HQ would mean losing the war. Other teams are stationed throughout the city, Arena at the Industrial District entrance, Doug on standby, and Lau guarding the hangar. Tatsu will manage supply lines. As rain falls, they prepare to face the Ganglion invasion force. A tense military standoff is underway, with forces preparing to engage in combat. A countdown quickly leads to the command to open fire. The primary objective is clear. They must prevent any Ganglion forces from infiltrating the city gate, as they represent the last line of defense against human extinction. Initial success at the East Gate creates momentary optimism, but Elma seems distracted by concerns that the current attack might be too small to represent the main Ganglion force. Her suspicions prove correct as the ground attack is revealed to be a feint. The team must abandon their position to defend the city itself, accepting the risk of urban combat to prevent losing the city entirely. Amidst the chaos, an individual named Togut unexpectedly requests to join the fight against their own Ganglion forces. Meanwhile, enemy forces have infiltrated the commercial district, requiring immediate response. The main characters encounter frightened civilians, including a young girl named Lin, whom they encourage to remain brave despite the dangers they face. A confrontation with Ganglion forces leads to an unexpected moment when one character offers peace, suggesting humans and Ganglion could negotiate and coexist peacefully. The enemy responds with mocking laughter, revealing their true objective was an alien mech called the Vida all along. Despite this setback, the humans claim victory in their primary mission of defending New LA. The Ganglion representative rejects any possibility of peaceful coexistence, insisting it must be either humans or Ganglion who survive, with no compromise. The exchange becomes violent, and the scene shifts to the aftermath, where the team learns that a team member named Marcus perished in the battle. They vow to find a Lifehold core that will allow them to provide Marcus with a new MIM body. Despite losing the alien scout to the Ganglion forces, the team considers the battle a victory since they repelled the invasion and NLA remains standing. The group plans to report back to headquarters, though one team needs to run an errand first. Later scenes reveal someone vowing revenge and suggesting there may be a traitor who informed the Ganglion about the scale. The scene shifts to a lighter moment involving cooking and a character named Tatsu. A commander arrives with mixed news. Pathfinders have detected another piece of the Lifehold, but it's located in Sylvalum, where Ganglion presence has been detected. The commander assigns the mission to top combat units, with hopes this might be the crucial piece they need. A devastating discovery reveals an entire team has been killed by Ganglion forces. Despite this tragedy, the wounded survivor urges the protagonist to continue the mission rather than evacuate him. The possibility that they might find the Lifehold core takes priority. A team member named Lin insists on participating in the dangerous mission despite concerns for her safety. Upon reaching their destination, the team finds nothing at the coordinates. Suddenly, they detect multiple incoming heat signatures and realize they're surrounded. A new species called the Roth appears, serving as mercenaries for the Ganglion. Despite resistance, the team must surrender. The Roth leader reveals the Ganglion fear humans in their natural form, though the reason remains unclear. A confrontation occurs with the Rothian forces. The speaker questions why such a noble species would serve the Ganglion, who have committed unspeakable acts across the planet. The Rothian prince explains they've lost their homeland and the Ganglion bought their compliance, though they maintain their pride. The Rothian prince agrees to settle the matter through honorable combat. Despite concerns about punishment from Luxar, the prince decides he can no longer follow the Ganglion's unjust orders, believing the Rothian people will survive whatever comes. The battle commences in the traditional Rothian way. After the battle, the Rothian provides information about the Ganglion stronghold, located in a northern region of black rock and magma. The group discusses potentially recruiting the Rothians as mercenaries for their side, though they debate how dangerous the Rothians might be. The group receives good news that Lau has been admitted to the maintenance center and will survive. Elma appears concerned about Lau despite this positive news. The team decides to return to New LA to check on him. Grandmaster Luxar receives a message from Gajar, former Prince of Roth, stating that the Rothians are breaking ties with the Ganglion. Gajar declares the Rothians will now operate as an independent mercenary force. This enrages Luxar, who calls Gajar a traitor. Prince Jog seems pleased by the turn of events, declaring that the Rothians will now be lawless vagabonds, subject to no one. The Rothian warriors express their approval of this new direction. Lau awakens in New LA, discovering his consciousness has been saved in a mimeosome body. Doug visits him, and Lau begins to apologize, feeling responsible for what happened. Elma and others arrive to check on Lau's condition. Elma speaks privately with Doug about suspicions regarding Lau. She explains that Lau's actions suggest he might be a spy for the Ganglion, citing his involvement in missions that turned into ambushes. Doug defends Lau, insisting he would never betray them. The scene shifts to a lighter moment with Lin and Tatsu. Lin teases Tatsu by pretending to offer tanning oil that's actually honey for cooking, joking about preparing him as food. Tatsu protests that he is not for eating. The team gathers to eat, but the commander interrupts with serious news. They've discovered evidence that someone tampered with Frontier Nav and planted false data, confirming there's a spy working with the Ganglion. The commander apologizes for sending them into danger. Despite the news about a spy, the team encourages the commander to move forward. He assigns them a mission to repair a key data probe in northern Sylvalum. The commander also mentions the Ganglion have been suspiciously quiet, and they discuss the possible location of the enemy base in Kaldros. Meanwhile, someone finds what appears to be a core. At the Ganglion base, Luxar is informed that someone named Rees has stolen a recently completed Zoofox, which infuriates him as he feels his organization is acting without proper authority. The team successfully repairs the broken probe. Lin explains she can now upload a patch to fix similar issues across all probes in the network. This leads to a moment of reflection where Lin expresses doubt about whether they'll ever find the Lifehold core. Elma reassures Lin that the Lifehold core must exist and be intact, since their consciousnesses are controlling their mimeosome bodies remotely from it. The core must be relatively close or they would experience lag. Elma acknowledges everyone's fatigue from being in mim bodies, but promises things will be all right. The conversation begins with someone questioning why artificial bodies, mims, were designed with the ability to cry tears. While initially embarrassed by this feature, they learn that tears serve practical purposes like lubricating eyes, flushing out debris, and releasing emotions. The conversation is interrupted by the detection of a large incoming hostile target approaching Los Angeles. A massive enemy approaches, apparently targeting Los Angeles. The team realizes they must stop it before it reaches the city. The enemy attacks, launching fighters and engaging the defenders in battle. Despite being outclassed by the enemy's anti-gravitational flight technology, the team fights together against this overwhelming threat. After defeating the enemy, the team discusses the threat these forces pose to the city. They reference information from a Rothian prince about the Ganglion fearing actual human bodies, suggesting this might be key to victory. The scene shifts to someone appearing to have a suspicious conversation with Lao. A confrontation erupts as Lao is caught stealing classified intelligence data. He reveals himself as a Ganglion spy and threatens to deliver the data and a new skell called the Prague Ares to the Ganglion. Despite attempts to stop him, Lao escapes with the data terminal containing vital information. The team explains that the stolen data terminal contains critical information from Frontier Nav that could help locate the Lifehold core. Without it, they must find Lao and recover the terminal. They decide to head toward a Ganglion stronghold north of Sylvalum, where they believe Lao is headed. The team tracks the Prague Ares to a large chamber. They discover a locked door and search for another entrance, encountering resistance along the way. They find a key mechanism that allows them to access the chamber with their skells. Confronting Lao, they learn the Ganglion and their leader, Luxar, fear humans regaining their bodies. Lao reveals his disillusionment, claiming humanity should have died with Earth. He explains that Project Exodus was built on lies, with only the elite and those with useful skills being selected, while billions were left behind. Lao reveals his personal tragedy. He volunteered for Project Exodus to save his wife and daughter, only to discover they were never chosen. His bitterness stems from this betrayal and the perceived elitism of those who made the selection decisions. The confrontation intensifies as Lao accuses Elma of knowing about these decisions all along. A tense standoff unfolds between characters with conflicting views about humanity's future. One character refuses to let someone destroy humanity's future, while the other firmly states they won't be stopped. The confrontation escalates with a challenge to bring it on, followed by references to NLA's team and powering up merchandise. The standoff intensifies as one character taunts another to shoot, warning not to hit the terminal. They challenge the shooter to choose between chest or head, noting the 50-50 chance with humanity's fate in the balance. When Elma prepares to shut down someone's MIM to extract data, Lin intervenes, desperately insisting they're on the same side. Lin explains understanding Lau's anger relating to personal loss of family. She acknowledges the corrupting power of self-serving lies, questioning what she might do in similar circumstances. She reflects that such emotional complexity defines humanity, wondering if perhaps humans deserved extinction, but stops short of completing that thought. A character admits their corruption and has a change of heart, realizing their mission transformed from justice to personal revenge. They urge the others to hurry to the Lifehold core, which has auto defenses but will take time to destroy. The team decides to return to New LA immediately to analyze crucial data. Lau refuses the invitation to return to New LA, believing he'll be severely punished. Despite assurances of understanding, he prefers death to imprisonment. The team reluctantly leaves him behind due to time constraints, with Lin making him promise to stay alive until medics arrive. Tatsu vows to save a special lunchbox for Lau. Alone, Lau reflects that he can't truly die since he would wake up in a new MIM. He apologizes to Charmaine and Chenchi, telling them he can't join them yet. The scene shifts to commanders receiving crucial data and debating whether to help Lau despite his betrayal. The commander compares Lau's situation to Arena's grief over losing her brother, noting different responses to tragedy. While Arena channels her grief into supporting Blade, Gwen reveals she's been acting recklessly, almost suicidally. They ultimately agree to bring Lau in, though the commander threatens retribution. Director General Maurice Chausson announces to New Los Angeles that Blade has located the Lifehold core. He acknowledges recovery won't be easy with Ganglion opposition, but expresses confidence in their mission to return to natural bodies and establish their new home on Mira. Blade officers mobilize all units for the mission to secure the Lifehold core and activate its backup power system. They await exact coordinates and emphasize that every Blade member will participate in this critical mission that will determine humanity's survival. The team shares a meal prepared by Lin before the mission. Doug initially criticizes the gathering while awaiting coordinates, arguing they should be prepared for immediate deployment. After tension, the group reconciles, understanding everyone's anxiety about the upcoming battle for humanity's survival. The team receives coordinates for the Lifehold core, located off the west coast of Caldros in the middle of the ocean. They prepare to investigate whether it sank underwater. Secretary Nagi emphasizes humanity's survival depends on their success, with Elma reaffirming her commitment to see the mission through. The team discovers the Lifehold core, protected by a force field where it meets the water. Elma explains the defensive shields were designed to sustain human life at all costs. However, she warns that the Ganglion don't need to break in, they just need to keep humans out until time runs out. Commander Elma organizes the final assault, with her team taking point to breach the core and activate backup power. Doug, Arena, Gwen, and Elm will join her team, while other units focus on clearing their approach and defending their position. She emphasizes their mission priority is securing the core, not destroying enemy craft. Military teams including Ningursu, Balam, and Team Surtur coordinate an operation, acknowledging plans to neutralize hospitals along their approach route. The breach team initiates their mission with urgency, attempting to move quickly before they can be followed inside. The squad expresses excitement about finally reuniting with their real bodies and becoming whole again. A warning announcement from Lightworld Core Control alerts that system energy levels have dropped critically low. Shielding will disable in approximately 1,000 seconds. The team acknowledges this creates two urgent problems: keeping the core powered and maintaining shields. They note the shields will force the Ganglion to deplete their resources and retreat, making getting the backup power source online their top priority. The scene shifts to the Ganglion forces, where their Grandmaster questions the delay in destroying their target. Upon learning humans have deployed a Trion barrier, he becomes enraged, refusing to believe primitive humans could access such advanced technology. Despite sustaining heavy damage and facing effective resistance, the Grandmaster insists on personally entering battle using the Vida, despite warnings his body cannot withstand it. The team reaches their destination, but finds it unexpectedly empty. Despite confirming they're in the core, they see no stasis capsules or human bodies. Elma reveals the official story about controlling MIMs from their real bodies was not the whole truth. Before she can fully explain, they're interrupted by the arrival of Luxar, the Ganglion leader, in a damaged mech. Luxar addresses the team with contempt, declaring his intention to purge what he describes as their disease from the universe. He expresses fear of humans, suggesting they might be the failsafe of legend, descendants of Samar. Despite his damaged mech, Luxar attacks, but is ultimately defeated, with the humans declaring that the will to live is stronger than the will to destroy. After their victory, the team returns to discussing the massive quantum mainframe hanging above them. Elma reveals this advanced computer contains the digitized consciousness of all 20 million humans brought from Earth. Their original bodies were destroyed with Earth. They now exist as data. The chamber contains protoplasmic fluid that can regenerate life from genetic data stored in the computer. The team grapples with the revelation they can have new bodies cultivated with their memories transferred. Doug questions if this makes them still human, expressing deep philosophical concerns about identity. Elma acknowledges the ethical debates this created among ECP leadership, but explains this approach allowed them to save 20 million people rather than just 50,000 in traditional stasis. The team realizes Lau discovered this truth, explaining his emotional struggle and betrayal. They speculate he eventually accepted this reality, evidenced by him leading them to this location. Elma explains Project Exodus aimed for mimeosomes to escort this system to safety, establish a new society, and essentially reboot humanity. Despite their concerns, she remains committed to seeing this through. A group of characters engage in a conversation about taking risks, with one person acknowledging others are following their chosen path. Someone mentions getting this far in a tin can and asks, why not? Tatsu, seemingly confused, gives approval for their friends to continue. A threatening presence is detected, putting the core integrity at risk. Someone named Luxar is targeting the main control system, claiming humanity is the Kanchen. The system that regenerates life from Earth can create biological weapons to defend itself. These defense measures begin malfunctioning, creating monsters. Luxar gloats about humans being betrayed by their own creations. The characters split up to deal with different threats. One handles the core defenses while another engages Luxar directly. During confrontation, accusations of betrayal emerge. A character reproaches Luxar for bringing war that decimated humanity, leaving only 20 million alive, which means 9.98 billion reasons to want revenge. The character blames Luxar for taking their wife and daughter. Human DNA evidence reveals some painful truth that contradicts previous beliefs. A character realizes they were wrong about mimeosomes, seeing them not as ghosts or shadows, but as people, seeds of new life struggling to take root. Something unusual happens as life from Earth seems to flow into them. Fighting continues not just for their own sake, but for others too. It's revealed why the Samari are feared. Long ago, Somalians created artificial entities called the Ganglion to save themselves. The Ganglion were synthesized and artificial, which explains their fear of humans, the descendants of their creators. The current approach isn't working, requiring a new strategy. The characters successfully saved the system, but couldn't save Luff. However, it's noted that by preventing Luff from destroying the system, they preserved his DNA and memories, giving them the means to bring him back. They argue he deserves a chance to return and make up for his mistakes. A revelation emerges that exactly one MIM in New LA is controlled remotely from a real body in stasis. It's revealed that Elma is this individual. She hasn't died, but her consciousness returned to her real body, showing her true xenoform appearance. The group assures her nothing has changed, and she's still one of them. The backup power is successfully set, and Secretary Nagi reports that Ganglion forces outside the Lifehold have been routed. The main power system should be back online in days. The immediate danger has passed, giving them time to repair the control system and check their memories in the database. It's revealed that Elma came to Earth 30 years ago with a mission. She warned about a war between the Interstellar Federation, which the Ganglion belonged to, and another alien civilization that would eventually reach Earth. She brought alien technology that enabled skells, light-speed travel, and mimeosomes to help mankind's survival. Damage to their systems is discovered, dating back to when they crashed on Mira. Upon entering the database chamber, Elma makes a shocking discovery. The entire database containing everyone's consciousnesses and memories has been destroyed since they arrived on Mira. This raises impossible questions about how they continue to exist. The group struggles with this disturbing revelation, but tries to remain calm and avoid alarming others. Leaders urge patience while they investigate, suggesting something about the planet Mira itself might explain their continued existence despite the destroyed database. Reports emerge of unexplained phenomena across Mira, dematerialization events creating expanding spheres that make matter vanish without a trace. A concerning unnatural phenomenon is causing parts of the world to disappear. Though currently localized, it threatens to expand and eventually reach NLA. Evacuating seems pointless as this is happening everywhere, making no place truly safe. The group decides to gather concrete data by observing the phenomenon, acknowledging the inherent risks involved. The investigation of this phenomenon takes precedence over the Lifehold core investigation, as even confirming they're not in immediate danger would be meaningless if Mira dematerializes beneath them. They decide to keep this information confidential to prevent widespread panic among troops. There's a growing suspicion that all recent events are somehow interconnected. The phenomenon appears as an inky black void from which not even light can escape. Despite similarities to a black hole, there are no anomalous mass readings, making this something beyond normal understanding. The immediate priority shifts to ensuring the safety of any Blade members in the area. An Ares craft, specifically the Prime model, was spotted along with something called the Vida. Despite recognizing the likely pilot, the team acknowledges they can't handle all these issues alone and decide to return to base. The pilot is suspected to be Alois Bernholt, the hero who saved everyone previously. It's confirmed that the Vida seen earlier is genuine, though it should have been secured in the Lifehold. The situation grows increasingly complex with the Ares, Vida, world disappearances, and mysterious entities called ghosts. These ghosts are an unknown alien civilization who easily defeated the Ganglion in earlier encounters. The ghosts are described as harbingers of doom. Their clash with the Ganglion led to Earth's destruction, and this wasn't the first such event. Elma reveals that her home planet met the same fate, suggesting all current events, Mira disappearing, ghosts arriving, and the Ares appearance, are connected. Elma reveals the truth about losing her homeworld twice. Her birth planet, like Earth, was home to descendants of ancient Sumerians. Despite being peaceful, they were attacked without warning by the Ganglion, who sought to eradicate Samar's legacy and claim the Ares technology. The Ares wasn't created by Elma's people, but originated from their forebears, the ancient Sumerians. The Ganglion are revealed to be artificial life forms engineered by Samar, explaining their pursuit of the Ares, which is also Samar technology. During the prolonged conflict with the Ganglion on Elma's world, parts of the planet began dematerializing. Then the ghosts appeared as a third faction, hostile to both sides. The combination of war and disappearing landmass sealed the planet's fate. Helma and the Ares were sent to Earth with a mission. Helma's mission was to warn Earth about the Ganglion, who would target humans as fellow Samar descendants, and to provide Ares technology to help level the playing field. Despite her efforts, she couldn't save Earth, the Ares, or its hero. The team expresses gratitude that she at least saved them. The Ares and ghosts are indirectly linked through the Ganglion, and planets die whenever ghosts appear. The implication is that the Ares might be causing these events, and that Mira could face the same fate as Earth and Helma's world. The team decides they must find the Ares. Commander Vandam reports detecting 2 units in active combat with extraordinary energy readings, likely the Ares and Vida. The team mobilizes to investigate, recognizing this as their only hope forward despite the dangers. The team confirms sighting the Vida, but questions who's piloting it. They prepare for combat as enemy cores appear, engaging in a fierce battle. The Vida manages to capture cores during the confrontation. After the battle, Alois Bernholt reveals himself to be alive, much to everyone's surprise. When questioned about the Vida taking the cores, he deflects, wanting to hear their stories first. Arrangements are made to transport him and the Ares for examination. The team discusses Alois Bernholt, noting he's different from his heroic government broadcast image, just a normal guy. Bernholt seems surprised by his hero status and learns that the white whale's habitat, now called NLA, survived thanks to his actions. He agrees to visit NLA with the team. The Ares is moved to a restricted hangar for examination. The discussion turns to ghosts and their behavior toward the Vida and Ganglion. Alois explains that ghosts lack independence. They simply swarm whatever is in front of them like a force of nature, similar to iron filings drawn to a magnet. Scientists concluded that ghosts represent the universe's corrective system, similar to how animals' instincts protect nature. This connects to ancient Earth texts describing 4 angels released from the Euphrates River to slay a third of mankind. What was once considered moral teaching or prophecy might actually be historical record. If ghosts are pursuing the Ganglion, it could be advantageous. 2 colleagues discuss their shared history with the Ares, a powerful vessel. One expresses regret for pushing the other to take on a hero's role with the Ares, feeling responsible for making them shoulder such a burden. The pilot clarifies they weren't motivated by heroism, but by fear of losing their place in the world, similar to losing their homeland as a child. The conversation reveals both individuals lost their birth planets. They recognize the Ares wasn't merely a tool, but something that guided them where needed. There's genuine appreciation for reconnection despite past hardships. One wishes to help repair the Ares, but was told to focus on blade duties, despite having experience on the original maintenance team. A story about Al reveals he was often alone due to his unique humor, but was always kind. Al had been separated from his younger sister while fleeing their troubled country. He believed people need somewhere to belong, not a physical location, but a place where you're liked and trusted. After losing Earth, the white whale became Al's home. The group discusses Al, who unlike most crew members, isn't a mim, but has his real body. The Ares Prime requires a human operator. Al requests a recap after his absence and is briefed on recent events. The conversation is interrupted by detection of a massive energy surge near Silvalum, displaying a pattern they haven't observed before. A primordial entity called Void appears, the creator of Ares Prime and progenitor of the Ganglion. Void announces a contest where survival is the prize, threatening that this world will cease to exist as he has witnessed countless times before. The team realizes this explains what happened to Elma's planet and Earth. The protagonist defies Void, refusing to accept defeat. Void seems pleased by this survival instinct and states they will meet at world's end. The team realizes the situation isn't simply about fighting, the planet itself is doomed, just like previous worlds. Survival means finding a way to leave Mira entirely. The key to escaping Mira lies in cores taken by the Vida. Without these cores, all life on the planet will die. The team heads to the hangar to check on the Ares. Analysis reveals Mira exists in one of several parallel dimensions. After a crucial battle, the Ares and its pilot were cast into a space between dimensions, which explains previous anomalies they've encountered. The group has discovered a crucial truth. Earth and Mira exist in completely separate universes. The universe containing Earth was entirely destroyed, which explains Void's catchphrase about the best ceasing to be. Despite this catastrophic event, humanity managed to survive by escaping to Mira's universe, likely due to the massive energy displacement caused by the destruction. This suggests that producing a similar amount of energy could potentially allow them to escape this universe as it faces its own disappearance. The Ares spaceship and its power cores appear to be key to this possibility, which explains why Void immediately targeted it. Across Mira, Ganglion remnants have been reactivating since Void's appearance. Despite being vulnerable to demat events and ghosts like humans, they have found new purpose in a pilgrimage to Void's floating continent, Volataris. These formerly defeated enemies are now causing trouble again, resuming their original mission to eradicate Samar's descendants. The situation on Mira has grown dire with multiple threats including dematerialization phenomena, ghosts, and Ganglion forces. The team must reclaim the Void Stone and prepare for evacuation, essentially launching a second Project Exodus as Mira itself faces inevitable destruction. A difficult evacuation plan is being formulated. Due to limited resources and time, not all life forms on Mira can be saved. The focus will be on evacuating sentient races that can communicate and cooperate. The Manon ship above NLA will serve as the evacuation vessel, retrofitted with the Ares jump drive and the Lifehold core protoplasmic fluid system. Most known Xeno communities have been contacted and are relocating to NLA, though some have chosen to remain on Mira. All Blade personnel must prioritize helping construct the escape vessel and supporting those coming to NLA. Al recounts his extraordinary experience when the Ares was pulled into a nexus of parallel universes. He describes it as a rift between worlds, a border town of all universes beyond human comprehension. Despite this alien environment, many of the Ares systems continued functioning, with its transceiver logging massive amounts of data. Al intuitively understood this data represented the consciousness of all living beings across all universes, though he avoided trying to process it individually, knowing the human mind couldn't handle such information. The Ares helped by filtering this data and showing him how to return. The group realizes they plan to use the Ares to escape this universe, though Al admits he doesn't fully understand how he managed to return. He describes the rift as a mind prison where Void's consciousness was held. The Vida apparently served as a vessel to channel Void's soul, freeing him from his imprisonment. The team makes connections between this process and how their MIMs work. They theorize that Void escaped by tracking the Ares as it left the rift between worlds, explaining his perfectly timed arrival. The Vida apparently contains more than just Void's mind. A group discusses connections between the Ares appearing in their world and subsequent events, including ghosts and demat incidents. They theorize these manifestations might be connected to Void's attacks. When Void attacked to claim the Ares, ghost appearances coincided. The team considers cause and effect relationships, recalling Void mentioned bringing worlds into concord. The team receives an urgent mission to track down a man-on engineer responsible for jump drive design. The engineer had a crucial component but was trapped in a Ganglion stronghold. An escort team lost contact after Ganglion forces found them. The team agrees to head to Oblivia immediately to investigate. Upon arrival, they find only Ganglion bodies, suggesting the engineer might still be alive. They encounter a Rothian who explains they were helping transport human younglings to NLA when they encountered and assisted human troops fighting Ganglion. The wounded are being treated at their stronghold, though the Rothian hasn't seen the engineer. The group faces Ganglion attackers while the Rothians evacuate their wounded. After defeating the enemies, they proceed to the Rothian stronghold, where they find the rescued human troops, grateful for the intervention that saved their lives. Despite failing their mission, the soldiers maintain optimism about finding what they need at the next location. The Rothian prince reveals knowledge about Void, explaining that Vida serves as Void's material vessel. During Earth's battle, Void commanded Ganglion from within Vida, but after Earth's destruction, his consciousness left the machine. The empty Vida crashed on Mira's surface along with the survivors. Al confirms Void had only linked his mind to Vida while his body remained in the rift. After completing their mission, the team reflects on how Mira has become a place where different races work together. Al shocks everyone by mentioning Lo, whom they thought dead. Al explains encountering Lo while drifting inside the rift, a nirvana-like space he passed through while searching for a way into this universe. Al recounts his conversation with Lao in the afterlife-like realm. Lao confessed his betrayal was driven by despair rather than revenge. Despite Lin's attempts to understand him, Lao felt unworthy of redemption. Unlike Lao, who accepted death, Al was determined to return to the living world. Lao asked Al to tell Lin to live despite understanding human flaws. The team realizes the escort team they previously met is in danger and rushes to help. Upon arrival, they discover everyone dead. They confront Void, who explains his desire to understand death, not just ceasing to exist, but the complex emotions surrounding mortality. Void believes fear of death motivates creatures more powerfully than their desire for life. The team rejects Void's reasoning, with Elma declaring him pure evil and their enemy. A battle ensues, but Void retreats, claiming they cannot teach him what he wishes to know. He warns that they will inevitably come to his world as time draws closer. After he leaves, the team finds the component the soldiers were seeking. Despite the deaths of the soldiers, the mission is completed with the recovery of the crucial part. The team vows to defeat Void and ensure the sacrificed lives weren't in vain. Before departing, they're invited to the restricted hangar to receive news about the Ares, which is apparently making good progress. The commander acknowledges their successful mission despite its difficulty. A conversation begins with casual greetings and banter between friends. The exchange reveals a friendly dynamic as they tease each other back and forth. One person seems to have found their place within the group, getting along well with others despite initial impressions. The discussion shifts to the Ares spacecraft, which has been recreated on their planet. They explain that it was built by excavating an ancient frame and retrofitting it with modern technology. The Ares contains special cores that function as a space-time bender, capable of moving things between different universes when fully powered. They assess their chances against an enemy called Void. Despite the threat, they find reassurance in the fact that Void is still preparing and hasn't attacked yet. The cores alone aren't sufficient for travel. They require additional conditions to function properly. A significant revelation emerges about the connection between a person and the Ares spacecraft. When transported inside a rift, the machine and mind became inseparable. This fusion is necessary for the cores to deploy their full power, making it impossible for anyone else to utilize them effectively. Inside the rift, they witnessed where consciousness converges across universes. Even with the Ares and its cores operational, precise timing is required to synchronize with this universal nexus. The structure of converging consciousness streams resembles the Lifehold core technology they use. A profound experience is described where they felt connected to people's lives or souls within this universal mechanism. To escape their universe, they'll need 6 cores, the Ares, the connected individual, and perfect timing to reach the nexus. Their enemy has likely realized this, but hasn't attacked yet. The conversation reveals concerns about leadership succession. One person wants to ensure someone trustworthy can lead mankind's future if they fall. They need someone who genuinely loves their world and its people, willing to take on the responsibility of protection. They discuss the White Whale 2, a newly completed vessel capable of interstellar travel. The ship's jump drive tests are promising, and preparations are underway for residents to board. If enemies attack or further planetary deterioration occurs, they can launch even before everyone is aboard. The team receives a request to find Kylie's friend who hasn't yet reached New Los Angeles and LA. They agree to help and learn the friend resides in Silvalem at the Delusion's North Summit. Upon investigating, they find signs of recent presence but no one at the residence. They meet Omomo, Kylie's friend, who explains how Kylie once saved her from wild creatures. Despite knowing the planet will disappear, Omomo refuses to leave because her husband is buried there. She cannot bear leaving him alone, even though it means sacrificing her own life. A conversation unfolds about Omomo, an elderly woman who has decided to stay behind rather than relocate to New LA with her family. When questioned about her best friend Kylie's feelings on this decision, it becomes clear that Omomo's reluctance stems from not wanting to be a burden on her family. She explains that she struggles to keep up with others, requiring their assistance, which she views as taking away their time and effort in their new environment. She expresses contentment with meeting her end peacefully beside her husband. The conversation with Omomo continues as someone tries to convince her that her family would be happier with her present. They argue that staying alive would allow her to support her loved ones, suggesting this is the true path to happiness. However, another person intervenes, respecting Omomo's choice to stay behind despite the sadness it causes. They acknowledge there are others who need help relocating to NLA and promise to ensure her family's safe passage to the new world. The group departs from Omomo, questioning if they made the right choice in respecting her decision. They determine there might not have been a perfect answer, but resolve to move forward regardless of the outcome. Later, they encounter Kylie, who surprisingly announces she's heading to help Omomo with her luggage, revealing that Omomo has changed her mind about staying behind. Kylie explains that after reflecting on their conversation, Omomo realized she had fallen into a mistaken feeling about reliance and was avoiding her responsibilities. Kylie admits she suspected Omomo might not want to relocate, but couldn't bring herself to ask directly, instead enlisting the group's help. She credits Lin specifically for getting through to Omomo when she herself would have only listened passively. She expresses gratitude for learning about the importance of speaking one's mind. The conversation becomes lighthearted as someone calls Lin a modern-day saint, causing embarrassment. The group encourages Kylie to go help Omomo without delay. A philosophical conversation begins about how the Ares ship could continue functioning despite losing its cores. This leads to a profound discussion about human spirit and consciousness. One speaker suggests that spirit isn't contained within a single human body or mimeosome, but exists within everyone whose life a person touches. They propose that a person's spirit lives on in those who remember them, creating a connection where no soul exists in isolation. The team is tasked with retrieving a blade named Ted, who has departed NLA and hasn't returned. They meet Eric, the captain of Team Eric, who explains that Ted is struggling to accept the Exodus plan. The issue stems from Ted's work as a curator, working with animals and plants, which has given him sympathy for the natural world. Since flora and fauna are not included in the Exodus plan, Ted has rejected it and fled to a location in Noctolum, where he had his first mission. The team locates Ted in Noctolum and confronts him about his dereliction of duty. Ted explains he cannot support the Exodus plan because it abandons Mira's plants and animals that have nurtured the planet long before humans arrived. Rather than leave them behind, he'd prefer to stay. The team acknowledges his concerns while reminding him people care about him. A creative solution emerges, collecting genetic information of Mira's flora and fauna to preserve it for the future. The team agrees to help Ted collect genetic information from across Mira. They systematically gather data from different continents. Primordia, Oblivia, Sylvalum, and Caldros. Working efficiently, they complete the collection and return to Noctolum. Ted expresses gratitude for their assistance and reveals that while collecting data, he heard voices saying, "To preserve is to cultivate," which has given him peace about the situation. He now agrees to return to NLA. Before Ted can leave, indigenous creatures appear, possibly because the team trespassed on their territory during data collection. The team handles the threat, allowing Ted to escape to NLA. Later, Eric reports that Ted has returned safely with the collected data. However, because Ted broke the rules, he faces disciplinary consequences to discourage similar behavior from others. The fate of the collected genetic data remains uncertain as the conversation ends. The crew celebrates completing an important task for the White Whale 2's databases. A major breakthrough is announced. The jump drive is now online. This achievement required linking the Ares drive to the White Whale 2 and running them in parallel, a nearly impossible feat. The team acknowledges they've accomplished a great deal in just a few weeks, crediting their allies, particularly the Manon, for sharing wisdom that made this progress possible. The conversation shifts to Void, their adversary. The team discusses Void's nature: lonely, insatiable, curious, but ultimately harmful. They note he pursues survival at all costs, denying others passage to the next universe. The protagonist reveals their minds may have gotten mixed in the rift where all consciousness flows, giving them insight into Void. Unlike Void, however, the protagonist fights for a place where all can belong together, motivated by love. A philosophical moment occurs as someone reflects that fate doesn't determine their path. They make it themselves. Whether in real bodies or mims, they are feeling beings fighting to survive. The White Whale 2 is now complete, and all prospective escapees have been relocated to NLA. The final stages involve embarking residents, retrieving the course from Void, and departing. Ghosts suddenly emerge from surrounding DMAT zones, approaching the ship. The White Whale 2 fires engines, and evacuation sirens sound. Blades are rallied to confront the ghosts while civilians evacuate. Teams are assigned different responsibilities, some handling evacuation, others dealing with the ghosts. After all residents are safely evacuated, the ship proceeds at full speed, avoiding dematerialization. The team prepares for their final mission against Void. They're determined to defeat him, with members claiming dibs on the first and last punches. The strategy involves deploying escort units around the White Whale 2, plotting a course to the enemy stronghold, and sending a raiding party to eliminate Void and retrieve the cores to the Ares before jumping away from Mira. Leadership roles are assigned for the operation. Elma will lead the raiding unit, Kabod commands the Rothian military escort, and Manon representatives will provide support aboard the ship. Before dismissal, the team is given time to prepare while maintaining focus on the mission ahead. Van Dam acknowledges Elma's contributions in creating what Blade is today. A heartfelt speech follows about Earth accepting refugees with compassion and how that compassion lives on in everyone who owes their lives to Earth. The speaker reflects on having nearly given up, feeling fated to wander forever seeking new havens. They now understand this journey wasn't mindless flight, but a journey to enlightenment, with their spirit evolving with each new land. As the mission begins, the team notices something unusual. There are no Ganglion troops in range. Instead, they see a light that appears to be an invitation from Void. The ship gets caught in terrain and sensors show nothing, possibly due to jamming. The flagship holds position while the escort group maintains a patrol pattern. Elma's team moves toward the light source. They finally encounter Void, who claims the contest is drawing to a close. He expresses that the contest was meaningless. He had hoped by pitting himself against them, he might understand death, but it was futile. Void suggests he may no longer even be their enemy, since the conflict itself has no meaning. The team reminds him that his contest has cost them their home. A confrontation is taking place where someone has been holding a grudge and is now ready to put their life on the line to fight. They declare that anyone who threatens their existence becomes their enemy, and they're prepared to end this enemy no matter the cost. The adversary, seemingly not fully understanding this stance, promises to remember this definition despite not comprehending it. The protagonist urges their adversary to understand, questioning why a being of such intelligence cannot do so. The adversary explains their actions are automatic and dictated by necessity, claiming understanding is not required, but knowledge is vital. They identify themselves as a prime intellect that cannot permit gaps in their knowledge. The adversary questions the nature of death, wondering if it's merely the price of defeat or the end of existence. They criticize humanity's understanding of consciousness, suggesting humans are ignorant about the true nature of mind and have only created artificial recreations of its structure. A revelation occurs about something called an abyss. The protagonist realizes the lifehold may only be a relay, not the true source of consciousness. The adversary confirms humans have tapped into a universal abyss through blind chance, which is what makes humanity interesting despite their limited intellectual understanding. The conversation returns to the nature of death. The protagonist argues death isn't the end, but merely the end of organic processes, while existence continues. The adversary critiques this as an intellectual failing, insisting death demands consideration despite not comprehending its complete meaning. The adversary admits they are always running and will forever continue to do so, believing escape is more active than acceptance. The protagonist suggests this perpetual avoidance means the adversary is already dead and has no meaning. This accusation of ignorance provokes the adversary. Setting aside complex philosophical arguments, the protagonist points out that the adversary's refusal to learn is proof of their ignorance. Unwilling to accept this truth, the adversary declares they will bring about the protagonist's death and transcend this world. The protagonist believes they have gained the upper hand. A military operation appears to be underway. Officers report interference preventing them from pinpointing its source. They've lost contact with a raiding party, but continue attempting communication while trusting in their abilities. Someone expresses surprise at hearing positivity in this situation. The scene shifts to someone waking up after what appears to be a crash or fall. Although they're uninjured, the situation remains dire. Their group has been scattered, and someone called Void has captured Al and the Ares. Their companions are missing, and their skulls, possibly vehicles or mechs, are grounded elsewhere. They believe Void is playing for time, needing to activate cores. The plan is to scout the area to find others by following emergency beacon data. They prioritize locating their skulls to make the search easier, emphasizing the need to handle the situation step by step without panicking. They reunite with two companions who have been searching for them. Before returning to face Void, they notice a tower-like structure that appears to be a relic. The group speculates it might be connected to Void and decide to investigate, prioritizing gathering information. After finding what they need to expand their search radius, they discover what appears to be a massive database on ancient Sumerians. This structure was originally inside a rift designed to contain Void. The tower is actually a ceiling construct made by Samar to restrain Void's power. They decide to activate the structure, hoping it might weaken Void. Upon activation, the tower reveals itself to be more like a flying weapon or spear. They decide to check out other similar spears, encountering an automatic lockdown mode and discovering data left by ancient Sumerians. They read records indicating Void was imprisoned here by the Sumerians. 6 fetters robbed him of thought, intended to trap him until the end of time, though something unforeseen happened. The group realizes these devices can work against Void, potentially giving them an advantage. They find more data, but much of it is corrupted. They can only decipher phrases about fetters being loosed from a shell to become a yoke that scourges the soul. The meaning isn't immediately clear, but they hope it will become evident with time. They notice the energy in the cores has dropped slightly, indicating Void has weakened due to the spear's effect. They plan to activate another spear. Void questions how long they will continue to resist, claiming he will escape soon and win. The cores are gradually charging up, and if they're Void's power source, he'll use them to escape once they're fully charged. The group needs Al to resolve the situation. They detect significant energy stored in the activated spears and believe striking them could release this energy against Void, or at least impede his power. A battle is imminent, with a strategic focus on acquiring spears for combat advantage. Despite resistance, there's confidence that the outcome is predetermined. The opposition is dismissed as having limited understanding, with a threat of elimination. Combat engagement begins with a command to provide covering fire, as someone addresses an entity known as Void, indicating pursuit. A philosophical confrontation occurs, challenging Void's ability to consume the speaker's will to live. The essence of existence is defined as love, not merely romantic commitment, but embracing all of creation fully. The speaker refuses to surrender something called Ares until Void demonstrates this capacity for universal love, rejecting Void's approach as assimilation rather than true understanding. The nature of Ares is revealed as a vessel for all sentient life, unlike the Vida, which only carried Void. There's recognition that people from the speaker's home have been watching over their journey. A poignant exchange follows where someone expresses gratitude for giving their life meaning and offers assistance. A confrontation continues with someone referred to as Big Shot, who claims humanity still needs them and they have unfinished business. This is met with dismissal. The entity threatens to repeatedly devour opposition until comprehension is achieved, insisting the fight will continue until full understanding is reached on multiple levels. Death is experienced, with the dying entity acknowledging their foolishness. Someone taunts that while they would serve death repeatedly if possible, one can only die once, after which existence is permanently extinguished and forgotten. The taunt concludes with declarations that one reaps what they sow and suggestions that the dying entity may not even have a soul. Despite facing death, someone defiantly claims to feel on top of the world. Meanwhile, a catastrophic effect is spreading, causing an area called Volataris to be consumed by DMAT damage. The situation worsens with ghost swarms threatening upon departure. Orders are given to protect Ares at all costs and ensure its delivery to White Wheel 2. Preparations begin for handover operations. The jump drive is activated with White Whale 2 advancing to rendezvous. All units are ordered to provide fire support for Ares. Technical difficulties emerge with Ares' output dropping and casualty rates increasing rapidly. Despite the deteriorating situation, there's a sense of achievement and connection with Ares. Void's history is revealed, a genius from Samar who created the Ares by studying conduit matter but inadvertently awakened ghosts. The Sumerians imprisoned Void's mind in a rift between worlds, which later manifested as Volataris. During his isolation, Void developed a curiosity about death. Eventually escaping, he manifested through worshippers who built the Vida vessel. Void created the Ganglion to help understand death and sought to reclaim Ares. The conflict between Ganglion and ghosts destroyed Elma's world and universe. Despite witnessing extensive death, Void failed to comprehend it, instead fearing his own disappearance and fleeing. Eventually, Void experienced death firsthand, leaving questions about his final thoughts. Someone realizes that what was thought to be a prison might actually have been a path to heaven, suggesting its existence as a wonderful place. The scene shifts to joyful reunion as someone previously thought lost returns, greeted with relief and celebration from multiple people. The narrative concludes with the appearance of a new world.